Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing a backup camera on this 2008 Chevy Trailblazer. Now in this install we're going to show you how to install that aftermarket backup camera to an existing aftermarket radio. Let's get started. Alright, so here at the bench now, the camera that we're going with actually is just a no-name branded camera that came with the radio that we installed in the previous video. This camera comes with the camera itself. It's just a universal mount. It comes with LEDs on it. So this isn't really the type of camera that you'd hook to accessory power. This is the type of camera you just want on when in reverse only. And this camera comes with a power and video harness. Now there's quite a bit of length here to run the length of the vehicle. This end plugs into the camera itself. This end is your video feed that'll plug into the camera input on the back of the radio. It comes with power and ground that you'll connect into the reverse light if so applicable, if needed. And it also comes with a pre-built trigger wire in case your smart harness or radio harness does not provide one. In our case, in our install, our smart harness that we used previously provides the reverse gear trigger, so we actually don't need this guy. And since this thing has LEDs on it, we don't want those LEDs on any time except for reverse, because they'd be bright and obnoxious. So, and all we need to do is connect this end just to the power and ground of our reverse light. And that'll essentially only power the camera when in reverse. What we also realized that this universal camera kit that came with our radio isn't license plate mountable, so we picked up a universal adapter, which we can link it down in the description. It essentially converts just the flat universal mount to a license plate mount, so this allows you to eliminate the need to drill or screw or do anything like that, as it just bolts up to the license plate studs. So what we're going to do is head to the back of the vehicle to start planning our wire route. We're also going to convert this over to the license plate. Essentially it just unscrews and screws into this one, and from that point forward we can start running our cable to the existing aftermarket radio. Alright, so what we did is got that mounted. Now, this is where that license plate bracket can come into play, where it'll snag these two studs instead of having to drill. In this case, our Trailblazer has a really nice flat spot that's pretty deep. That's a great location for the universal mount. So we actually went ahead and did that just to save a little bit of money there. But again, we'll still link the universal bracket down in the description for you. That went on in. Then we drilled just a small 1/4-inch hole there, so we could run our wire up into the hatch area. So that's about it there. We're going to go ahead and seal that on up so it doesn't leak. But other than that, we got our camera all mounted. Now, when we flip this on over, because we pulled the panels all off, this is where we fished our wire on through. See this little access hole for the license plate light? Well, that was a great access location, and this is where it comes on out. Now, at this point, before we just hook into it, we need to run our wire through this rubber grommet. Now, there are two tabs on each side of the plastic retainers, and allows it to actually open up all the way. Then we can reseat our rubber grommet up and around these plastic retainers before we reinstall it. We need to fish our wire through this. This is probably going to be the hardest part. Up here, we're going to follow along the factory loom so we can connect into our backup camera wire. So what we're going to do is get this all lubed up with some soap and water. We like to use a little hanger to help fish that wire through, and we'll get that wire passed on through. Alright, so what we've done here is we have prepped our grommet. Now, we've pulled it out on both ends here, and we ran a hanger through the whole thing to the other side. Now we've taped our harness for our camera to this, and we're going to lube it up a ton with some soap and water so it's really slippery. Then using this end, we're going to go ahead and fish it on through. Then this end will run along the factory harness all the way to our backup camera. And then the other end we'll fish it through. The headliner comes out here, we'll come down, we'll tap into the reverse light for power and ground, and then the video wire goes all the way forward to our radio. So at this point of time, let's go ahead and pull that through. Alright, so we got that pulled on through, fitted up along, zip tying along the factory loom, connect it into the camera. We taped our connection so it doesn't come loose in the hatch, and goes to the camera. So that's it. Now, as we fed this on through, we pulled it on through the bottom here, pulled our weather stripping down so we can pull that on out. And we noticed our power wire and ground wire way too short. It's not going to make it all the way down to the reverse light, which is down here. We happen to have more parallel wire that we soldered into, just extended it all the way down, so we do have some more. Yeah, just any wire will do. Parallel wire is generally what we recommend. This is a 22 gauge parallel wire. And we soldered a heat shrink on there, and then we'll tape it up. But yeah, so what we're going to do now is continue down along. We got to pop out the tail light so we can get to the reverse light wiring. We can also reassemble our boot here. We're going to put the plastic up. We're going to put the rubber back up and around the plastic, and then seat the plastic back up. Same thing with the bottom there. And we're just about done here in the hatch. So what we've done here is we continued running our wire down here. Now we fished it back behind the panel. Through here we put a hole in our grommet and ran our power and ground out here. The video wire doesn't have to come out here. That'll stay inside the cabin running forward to the radio. But this is where it needs to tap into power and ground. Now power and ground here, we've done a little testing. Looking at this harness this way, this guy is your ground. And then green, the guy in the very center, is your 12 volts for the reverse light. So that is our two connections here. What we're going to do is just strip the shielding back a little bit. We're going to solder onto that and tape it up, make it nice and clean. Alright, so we went ahead and made our connections. Now I did originally say this brown wire. Truth be told, it's actually the black wire here. Brown wire does show continuity, but only at certain times. The black wire is a ground all the time. So it's these two guys here, black and green. So we soldered onto that, as you saw. We taped them up, and we're going to relume this harness and reassemble the taillight. Power and ground all done. At this point, we just need to run our video wire up front towards the radio. Alright, so we continue running our wire up underneath panels, working our way forward. Continue along all the way here. Now, unfortunately, we found that our RCA is too short. It happens with these no-name brands. So we just added an RCA coupler and then another 6-foot run of, it could be any color, it just has to be an RCA. And since we're not using this trigger wire, since our radio is providing it, our smart harness is providing it, we just cap that off with some heat shrink, and we'll continue wrapping this up. We're going to go across the top here and into the radio cavity. All right, so we fished our video wire up underneath. up into the dash here. Now this is the extension that we used here, a little 6-foot extension, but this will connect into the video input of our radio. Now obviously you haven't seen us remove this radio or replace the radio in this video because we've already covered that in great detail in our previous videos. The install, we'll link that video down in the description, which walks you through step by step on how to remove the dash bezel, factory radio, wire up the new one, and get it reinstalled. With this, we'll just plug this into the video input on the back of the radio and get everything reinstalled. Remember, our trigger wire for our radio is going to be generated by the smart harness shown in that previous segment. So at this point of time, let's go ahead and grab our smart harness here. Go ahead and plug it on in. And again, the smart harness is going to provide everything that we need, including the reverse gear trigger wire, which generated over this smart harness chime module for our radio, and we've already wired that up here in this radio. It's located in this little secondary harness, and we made that connection. So at this point of time, let's go ahead and get our radio installed. Now we went ahead and already connected our antenna adapter. Plug right on in here. Tuck everything back in. Now we're going to put our little extensions on. Just this. Perfect. All right, let's finish reassembling the dash. Alright, so we got everything all reassembled here. Let's do a final test. Now, for the most part, these always come defaulted with the camera feature turned on. So let's go ahead and put it in reverse. There we are. Awesome. Pull it out of reverse here. Perfect. Exactly what we want. Picture looks actually pretty decent. Now, if you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. And like I said before, we'll link the video that walks you through step by step on how to install this aftermarket radio in this factory location. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.